So SAKTK has a lot of killers. More killers in fact than my IQ plus room temperature. So I thought it'd be a cool idea to rank all of them in the game. Well, at least the ones that are in the game at the time of making this video, of course. And what are we going to be using to rank these killers? A tier list, because who ranks things in order nowadays? I mean, I could rank them in order. Would be a boring video though. You just skip to the end to find out number 1. Also because it's my video, I can do what I want with it. But before we get into the tier list, what are we going to be ranking these killers off of anyway? Speed? Damage? Attractiveness? Maybe we'll save the last one for a future video. Nope! We'll be ranking these killers off of 3 main perks: design, originality, and how annoying they are to kill. So for example, killers in the S tier would be the best of the best, almost flawless, while killers in the F tier would be killers so bad, the words haven't even been created yet to describe how awfully revolting they are. Oh, and I will be including bosses. Sure, they might be a lot more unique than the mainline killers and have more attacks, but I'm an unfair person. We'll add them to the list. Anyway, I've already wasted around 3,000 years explaining to you what a tier list is. Let's get on with the ranking. First killer on my list is Alien. I mean, he's a pretty solid killer, what do you want me to say? And a classic one, I might add. I like his ability where he shoots acid out of his face, I guess. He's an absolute machine in killer mode and a fan favourite by far, and I can definitely see why. Alien conveniently goes in A tier. Well then, we're off to a good start already. Who's the next killer on our list? Oh. Yeah, me and Aberration have a rocky relationship to say the least. On one hand, I really like the design, pretty cool in my opinion, nothing to complain about, and then you come on to actually fighting her. Aberration as a boss for me is definitely an extremely weak one, only really balanced out by her annoying god-awful laser attack that nobody knows how to dodge properly to this day. Then you have her goopy corrupted one simps which are literally just reskins of zombie, and her elite form isn't getting any special treatment either. Not sure why it's Cheeto color, I mean who asked for that? Why can't it be cool like red or blue? I mean I could go on all day on what Aberration did wrong, but I'd like to keep this video under the 1 hour mark if possible. I mean, you know, the community loves Aberration to death, but for me, she's really not that special. Aberration goes in U tier, for unattractive. Moving swiftly along, we have Captain Zombie. I know this guy is a fan favourite among the community, and yeah, his ability is pretty cool. He summons 2 separate zombie minions that have a mind of their own, but the main problem I have with Captain Zombie is just his design. I don't know, he just looks so goofy. I guess he appears alright in the Roblox style, but I guarantee you, if any real artist were to try and draw Captain Zombie in real life, they'd probably get stuck on the first step. I think we'll put him in C tier. I kind of want to put him in B, but he just looks a little too silly for my liking. You might be thinking it's a bit harsh just to rank down a killer solely off of its design, but remember what I said in the intro, I'm an unfair person. And also, people stick around longer if I talk negatively about the killers. Speaking of negativity, next up is... To be honest, I feel like AshCat gets far too much hate for who he really is. While he isn't as cool as his clone Alien, the Ink ability adds some much needed originality for an otherwise bland and forgettable killer. Reminded me of the bloopers from Mario Kart. Sure, it's not the most helpful ability in the world, but an interesting addition. B tier seems appropriate. Next up we have my son, Fishface. Yep, that's right, me, AshCat. I created this killer. Fishface is my creation, but I want you all to know that I'm not just picking favourites here. I came into this tier list to equally rank all of the killers, and if I have to rank my own child, then so be it. Fishface was entirely made for the Kraken fight, but for some reason people wanted him to be an actual standalone killer, so he was added, and to be honest, he kinda sucks. He barely does any damage at all and is quite underwhelming as a killer. I mean, he's not awful, but they really could have done more to his ability. Unfortunately, Fishface goes in D. He's just not good by himself, the only reason for his existence is for the Kraken fight. Yeah, I know, I'm a terrible parent, ranking down my own child. I mean, he is just parts in a Roblox game. Does that make me Frankenstein then? Next up is Freddy Krueger. I mean, he's an okay killer, I guess, but at his core, he's just one of those boring knife killers with those dumb animations. I think I'll put him in D as well. He's just not unique enough for me. And now we're on to the most forgettable killer in the entire game, the Giant Zombie. Oh wait, I'm sorry, he's a boss? Oh. So the Giant Zombie is pretty friggin' boring. He's just a supersized version of the normal zombie, but only a ray gun can kill him for some unexplained reason. I don't think he's an awful killer slash boss though, just not one I like. C tier it is. Something that's always confused me about the giant zombie is that he doesn't have eyes. What, is he blind? Just like the people who think Aberration is a good boss. Granny's up next and is a bit strange to rank in my opinion. On one hand, I really like how unique she is with the bear trap and everything, but on the other, she's just too tall, making her a big target for practically anyone, even people with trash aim, to kill her pretty easily. Another mediocre C tier, I'm afraid. Jane the Killer, on the other hand, is far more interesting than Granny, and yes, I'm aware that her only purpose in life is to kill Jeff and be an absolute nuisance in killer mode, but I quite like her design. I mean, what does Granny look like? An ugly PNG slapped onto a Roblox head? Yeah, thought so. And yeah, like I said, Jane isn't super useful, but sometimes you don't actually have to be useful in the game to be a memorable killer. Keep that in mind. We'll stick her in A tier. Hopefully more killers can follow this tradition moving forward. Coming up next, we have Jack Torrance. Coming up next, we have Jason Voorhees. Now I know there are a lot of people who think this guy is just one of those boring knife killers, and while that technically is true, a lot of people still like him for some reason, and for that he goes in C. Normally I would put these killers on a lower tier, but Jason is kind of where it started, so I can't call him a clone by any means. Can't say the same about Jeff the Killer though, he's literally just a Jason clone. Their animations are similar and they both do the exact same thing, flailing their arms about trying to hit you with their various melee weapons. And yeah, I know Jeff has an ability where he can cut your mouth open. Well, you can't see the ability on me, mostly because I have a mask covering my already hideous face, but it does exist, and it does nothing. Jeff is by far one of the worst killers we've seen. Heck, even the game itself admits it, and for that Jeff's going in E, just a boring killer all around. Finally, I can talk about the superior boss in SAKTK. I want you all to know that Kraken is just a masterpiece from every angle. Spawning animation, amazing. Theme, amazing. Attacks, amazing. Summoning fish faces, amazing. Hard as heck to do in solo, amazing. I mean, there really isn't any flaw to be had with Kraken. Just look at Aberration for context. She hides in a shield the entire time, and the only reason people like her is because she's the waifu of SAKTK. You see what happens when I talk about Aberration? But suddenly it becomes the entire subject of the conversation. Kraken goes in S tier. Hopefully not the last one we have on this list. Well done, Kraken. Speaking of good killers, who do we have next? This will be fun to talk about. So, Leatherface. Where do I even begin? He's just Jason. He's just Jason. I'm sorry. Yeah, I know he has a nice walking animation and makes a chainsaw sound, but that's it. All of their attacks are basically the same. And also, he looks ugly as heck. Like, who would want to play as this killer? I mean, not as hideous as Aberration, don't get me wrong, but why would you optionally want to play as Leatherface? Even the other Jason clones are better. You might as well just play as them. Leatherface is going in F. I don't think I need to further explain myself. Next up is another Jason Voorhees clone, Michael Myers. Now, just look at this guy's expression for a second. No, tell you what, we'll compare it to Captain Zombie. Captain Zombie looks like he's actually ready to tear some victims into pieces. Looks actually pretty menacing if you were in a dark room with him. Michael Myers, on the other hand, looks like he's taking a dump in front of his crush and can't go to the bathroom to clean it out. Pennywise is up next, and while I don't have a problem with the design at all, unlike most of these low tiers I'm handing out, the main problem I have is just his ability. I mean, yeah, throwing a knife is cool, but shouldn't that feature be given to Jeff? Heck, give it to Michael Myers and nobody would complain. And the other issue is that the ability doesn't match the killer at all. In the movies, Pennywise is some kind of alien demon thing, and in SAKTK he throws a knife. Yeah, so much for demon powers, I guess. D tier, I'm afraid. Pinhead. How do I rank this? Now, from what I've seen, some people like him and some people find him incredibly annoying. I think if it wasn't for his ability where he shoots pins out of his head, he'd probably be a C or D. But I feel like that feature adds some much needed originality that wasn't otherwise there. I think I'll give him a B. Never really found him annoying myself. Next up is the Rake. This one I think is a very hit or miss for me, but I'm just gonna be honest and say it right now. I prefer the old design. I know, the old design of Rake looked like a disgusting naked zombie dog, and it definitely isn't perfect, but I honestly think it's much more unique to SAKTK than the new one. The problem is that we've seen far too much of this Rake model in particular, spanning across multiple Roblox games even, and I'm getting sick of it. And I know SAKTK isn't supposed to be scary, but the old design actually looks kind of creepy, especially when you ran into it by accident. The newer one just looks like he's about to devour a 5-course meal. Rake goes in B tier. Still a good killer, don't get me wrong, his sound design is a nice addition as well, but I think he would have been a little higher if his design remained the same. I'm sorry, if I didn't talk about my true feelings here, then I would have never been able to. And then I'd be sitting in an armchair when I'm 80 years old and saying, Ash, you should have talked about the time where you lied and said New Rig was better. And then I have a heart attack. And then I go to hospital. And then I die. And then the sun expands and engulfs Earth. And then the universe collapses in on itself. And then the second Big Bang happens. Where am I going with this again? Robot. I actually quite like Robot a lot, mind you. Sure, it's not the most unique killer ever, but definitely unique enough to get a high ranking. I think it's mainly the sound design I like. Everything from its footsteps to the laser audio all work really well. Also, he's pretty memorable. Although I do kind of wish his eyes were a different colour, seeing as like 90% of SAKTK killers have red eyes nowadays. It doesn't matter, it's not that big of a deal. I think we'll put Robot in B tier. Next up is Scream, or Ghostface, or whatever his name is now. Now originally I was going to completely butcher Scream and give him an F tier, but looking at the tier list so far, I don't think he deserves to be near Leatherface and Michael Poopy Pants down there. I think his ability where he can steal your weapon is pretty cool, but I think it would have been far better if you just couldn't pick the weapon back up. However, his design definitely makes up for that. C tier, I guess. Slender Man. Where do I even begin? I mean, he's clearly the favourite of the game devs, he's on practically every thumbnail and has hundreds of fan art from him, and he's getting new abilities and changes every update. Stop it, Homer, please, I'm getting sick of it. Now, I like Slender Man's design. The tentacle animation he has is pretty cool. However, I feel like Slender Man suffers the same problem as Aberration. No, not the fact that he's unattractive, we don't talk about that. The fact that his teleporting ability completely ruins the killer for me. Maybe I'm just bad, but I can't tell you how many times I've died in Endless Survival, or heck, any mode because of this teleporting ability. It gives you like 0.5 seconds to react, and topped off with how Slender Man's an insta-kill, you've got yourself a garbage killer. I swear, if Slender didn't have this ability, I'd probably put him in B, or heck even A tier, but I just hate it so goddamn much. Did you know that I died on round 46 on Endless Survival once from this ability? Round 46! 4 rounds away from 50! I still haven't gotten over that, by the way. Slender Man goes in C tier, but that's only because of the teleporting ability. Smile Dog is up next, and I honestly think he's what Rake should have been. Sure, he has the head of an edited Doge face, and his abilities aren't the most creative ever, but I think it works really, really well. I think the sound design is another reason why I like him so much. The theme adds some much needed flavour to the killer, and to top it all off, he's OP in Juggernaut and Killer mode. S tier, definitely the best killer in the game at the moment, except for Kraken. But he only gets special treatment because he's a boss. I'm thankful they didn't keep him standing up and make him super cursed like Wendigo. What's that? There's glitches of him standing up? So you're saying he looks like this sometimes? Like a ghost possessed a fursuit? Oh yeah, Sonic EXE's next, he's going straight into B tier. Listen, I love Sonic EXE. He's been in the game since nearly the beginning, and he's still OP for killer mode, but I can't let my nostalgia cloud my view. This killer, by today's standards, isn't that great. There are so many cooler enemies in the game other than Sonic, and unfortunately, that's why I'm not ranking him any higher. Also, he's the worst killer for Juggernaut. Like, seriously, don't try playing as him. Well then, we've reached the final 3 killers of this tier list. The next one is a fan favourite. Oh, I'm sure you guys will be really excited for the next killer. Oh yeah. Tailstall. Now I know, some people watching this video right now will probably put this guy straight into F tier simply because he's annoying or too scary. I've personally had no issues with Tailstall, except the sound he makes. Freaking annoying. But the design of Tails is where he really brings it home. I honestly would have preferred if they just slapped the original Sonic R form into the game, but this design is still breathtaking. All of the stitches and body parts really work together here to form an amazing killer. A tier for Tailstall. Wendigo, one of the newer killers on this list. Honestly, I think he would have looked much better being a lot bulkier, whereas now he just has a rather long and thin body, making him look more like Slender Man. But that's just a minor problem. His headbutting attack is cool, not super useful, but I think I'll still give him a B tier. And finally, the last killer we have is Zombie. Yeah, I know you've been waiting for me to rank this guy. Or maybe not, maybe you just stumbled across this video by accident. But regardless, I've made it very clear in the past that Giant Zombie? I've made it very clear in the past that Zombie is not exactly a good killer, but I still think I've been hating on him far too much. Zombie nowadays is just okay. He's okay. His death animation is cool and his design is fine. but I don't think you can do much to make Zombie better. I'll give him an E tier as opposed to F, but I still think he has a long way to go in terms of actually being cool again. And there you go, that's the entire tier list done. No more SAKTK killers to rank. Woohoo! You're probably writing an angry comment right now. Ash, why did you rank name of killer in name of tier? But did you agree? Did you disagree? I don't know. That noise outside, that's just the Aberration fans. Yeah, they're pretty mad at me. Oh dear. They have weapons? Huh. Maybe I should start running. Maybe that's a good idea. Hey, see ya!